Hey strangers, welcome to the Vale. You can call me Kay. And today, I would like to begin by just apologizing that I fell off the radar. I have so many thoughts and so many things going on that I just sometimes forget. And it's been a bit of a mess recently, and so I'm not the most unscatterbrained of people. But regardless, I'm back. I'm currently working on all the little squares that will become a cardigan eventually. I'm at about 180. I need 200. Well, technically I need 190, but I'm going to add 10 more because I can't stop at 190 when I'm so close to 200. So it's not going to happen. Here we are. But it's a lovely pattern. I can't remember where I found it, but it's like 4 different little floral designs. So this is the first one. Well, this is technically the 4th one. But each one is with a different flower. So there's the sunflower, there's a daisy, there's more of a kind of boxy-ish design, and then there's this lovely little sand dollar-y one. And so I'm going around making all of them in circles. And soon, hopefully before the end of this week, I will hit 200 and then I'll be able to start sewing them together. But that is where that current project is. And then after that, I have a couple baby blankets I need to make and possibly a sweater. We shall see. Regardless, it's been good. I can't remember the last time I spoke with you. If I'm going to be perfectly honest, I'm a tad unsure how time is working right now, but that's fine. I have recently, however, gotten, let's see, I don't know if I talked to you since I got the books. I got some books. One is about the history of corpses that were buried in random places. I would not be shocked if there was a poet with the last name McGonagall in Scotland, and they lost his corpse. They buried him, and then they forgot where they buried him. So his little headstone is just a plaque on a wall that says he's buried near this location. So, interesting stories like that. That's what this book is about. It's a fun time. So I'll be reading that soon, hopefully. I've also been trying to get back into drawing of things. I did a couple of drawings of Dungeons and Dragons characters that I am currently playing as. And that's always entertaining. But we will continue on. I have also done a random amount of research on the difference between moss and lichen. Because why not? So that's what we're talking about today. 20. I didn't get it wrong. This is exciting. And I've forgotten my scissors. One moment. You just get to live in my scatterbrained life, so you're welcome. These are my letter to the void, and you just get to be a part of it. You're welcome. Anyway, moss and lichen. So I was very interested by this. As anyone who follows me on Instagram knows, I have this notorious desire to just go on really long walks by the canal in the rain. Because why not? I think it's fascinating. And I just love the long walks. And so I'll go and I'll wander the bridges and make faces at swans and all of the above, and occasionally draw pictures of the flora. But it's a very fun thing. I do enjoy doing it. And there is a lot of moss and lichen type things as I go on these walks. And so I decided to do some research about the difference, because I know there's a difference, but I've never actually researched it. So you, my lovely strangers, get to hear about my research on moss and lichen because I was bored and that's where we got to. So moss, plant-based, photosynthetic, very interesting, but doesn't have any specialized cells that transport water and nutrients. And so they're leafy sponges, essentially. They don't, there's nothing that brings nutrients and water from the roots to the leaves. It's just all one massive leaf sponge. That's moss. Lichen looks like moss, but is not. It is a symbiotic relationship between fungus and algae. And I did a little bit more research on this because I thought it was super neat. And essentially, there's like an algae colony, and it gets covered with fungus. And what happens is the algae will collect water and moisture and nutrients, and it'll feed the fungus. And in return, the fungus will protect the algae from drying out and from sun damage. And so lichen is just this weird, funky mix of fungus and algae. And it doesn't have leaves. Sometimes it looks leafy, but it doesn't have leaves. So that's neat. And upon doing this, I, of course, stumbled across the topic of legends kind of related to moss, because there's always a legend related to anything, which is lovely. So the legend that was most prevalent is a Germanic folk tale about the moss people, or the wood folk, or the wild folk. There are many, many names. But this legend is these magical creatures that live in the woods. They're comparable to dwarves or elves. And during Odin's wild hunt, they would seek shelter in trees that were marked with crosses by woodsmen who were going to go and knock the trees over. But that's where they hid from Odin. So interesting. They're described as kind of gnarled and grayish creatures, but they're covered in moss. In some cases, they have butterfly wings and different things. Very, very fair folk-esque. But they're covered in moss and hiding from Odin. And they are very shy, and they tend to borrow items from people. But they'll leave gifts in the places. They'll compensate generously for the things that they steal. Things they borrow. Fascinating little creatures, and it was quite fun. I've done quite a bit of research on the wild hunt in the past. It's also known as Odin's hunt, or there are a couple of different names for it. But in some cases it's linked to Odin, in some cases it's linked to something completely different. Many times it was spoken of by death cults and things like that, because the idea of the wild hunt before Christianity came in was it's the dark fae council, or in some cases it's the restless dead, the restless souls of the dead. And they take the form of these shadowy creatures like dogs or horses, and it's a hunt, and they go and they steal people's souls, essentially. Again, there are many versions of this. This is my favorite one. My favorite one is they take the forms of these creatures, dogs or kind of terrifying looking shadow birds. And when the night comes, they search for people who are weak of heart, or people who are on their deathbed. And before these people can move on, they steal their souls and add their souls to the wild hunt. It's a very dark, gloomy type of a story, but it's fascinating to learn about. But when Christianity came in, it took the form of more along the lines of, people who are restless, people who didn't get a proper burial. Those are the people who join the wild hunt. There's also this really fun thing where if you say its actual name, they'll come and find you and take your soul. Like, you become their target if you say their true name, because names have power, especially in folklore and things like that. You find that names have power, and they attract attention when used incorrectly. So yes, there has been my fun little tangent of research most recently. And hopefully I will get on to the other things in my list. Was Chernobyl the last time I talked to you? I think it was Chernobyl. If not, I've been researching Chernobyl and I should talk about it because I did a lot of research on it, but I'm pretty sure that was the last one. I should really check before I start making these videos so I actually know where I left off. It's fine. I am an agent of chaos, and I am simply here to chatter at you. Honestly, I hope that somewhere out there there's a person who just wants to hear someone ramble and is sitting here crocheting, listening to me ramble, because that's the whole purpose of me doing it, is to ramble and crochet. I find it very relaxing to talk about something that doesn't really matter that much, but it's kind of neat. And just work on a project and create something. I hope that they're like-minded individuals who agree with that. Granted, it goes a lot of different ways. I think we're all a mess right now. It's fine. It's okay if you're a mess, because I'm a mess, and I appreciate the company. But alas, I will let you go before this gets too long. I think I did a good job on timing this time. I didn't go over 20 minutes. Points to me. But there you go. We're going to start making it a square now. But this one is honestly one of my favorites. It looks so pretty once it's done. I'll keep you posted. For anyone who enjoys hearing me ramble about random topics, please give me any suggestions of topics that you'd like to hear about. And if you enjoy random pictures of wildlife or singing under bridges, feel free to follow me on Instagram. It should be under K Vale, I believe. But as it is, I hope you're all doing well. I'll talk with you later, hopefully with a little less of a gap than last time. But have a lovely day. Bye, strangers.